This bloke's animated.
Yes.
And he's animating because he's at the airport. He's doing another assignment in Townsville. He's going up to check out the Indigenous situation with Jonathan Thurston.
Right, okay.
His name is Harold the H. Cock-a-doodle-doo peacock. His sister,
Yes.
not Sonia, but Sophie, is listening to the program.
Yes.
Hello?
Yeah, hello. This is not Sophia or anyone. This is
It's
Harold.
Sophia.
How you
I
going?
thought it was Sophie. S-O-F-I-E is Sophie.
Well, it probably is, but that's not a name. Never mind.
That's all right. Don't worry about it, Harold. He calls me Bert every morning.
She got up me for calling her Sonia. Oh, God, I can't win, Sophia. Okay, you're going to talk about someone called the Ellen the Cutter.
Yeah, that's right. Look, first of all, I just got to apologise for any background noise you might hear because, as you said, I'm heading on assignment to Townsville and I'm currently at the airport and there are people milling around me. I probably shouldn't have streamed West Bremer radio over the sound system here, but...
you know what it was, don't you, Harold? It's the We Love Dr. Dan T-shirt you got on.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's right. And the underpants that I wear on the outside too, with We Love Dr. Dan on it too. But look, actually, well, I'm not telling you about that today. I'm telling you about, a bit more about Ellen the Cutter, a story I wrote recently that was pretty popular. But there's more to the story about her time in Ipswich, which I'll tell you about now. Now, she went by many names. There was Ellen Clinch, alias Ellen Simple, alias Ellen Morris, alias Ellen Morley, and most impressive of all, alias Ellen the Cutter.
The Cutter.
Now across a 20-year career, Ellen made at least 34 court appearances for 17 convictions, most of them in Ipswich, and people tended to die around her. Now, 167 years ago this week, in May 1858, Ellen the Cutter was in the Ipswich courthouse charged with stealing £70 from her husband. Now, that was the English carrier William Morley. Now, despite the bench holding great suspicions, the charges were dismissed.
Right. Yes. What's happened?
I think we might have lost him.
Now, the following year, 1859, Ellen was in the Ipswich court no less than 5 times in a 20-week period. She was just a regular there. Look, she sued over some bullock gear a man by the name of Joseph Gibson, who was commonly known as Red Joe.
Right.
But she didn't turn up, so the case she brought was dismissed. Red Joe was later sued by one of Ellen's many husbands, who actually worked for Red Joe. It was all very messy. Then Ellen was charged with assaulting the Ipswich draper, Mr. Henry Reeve. But Ellen turned up to court in a state of drunkenness, so she was sent to the lockup for 24 hours, and the case was dismissed anyway. Ellen was then indicted for having stolen money from a Mr. Thomas Macaulay. Now, one night they had a drink together and went to a lodging house together. Ellen left and Macaulay found his money was missing. He then went on a quest with 2 constables to find her, and they finally did find her at about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning at Ipswich's Steam Packet Hotel. Now, the Ipswich Chief Constable, Edward Quinn, prosecuted. It was Quinn who had earlier arrested the Ipswich's nude maniac, if you remember me telling you about that. In any case, Ellen was again acquitted and discharged. Now, Ellen got into a feud that lasted for months with a woman called Honora Remilton, when they continually sued each other for use of obscene and abusive language. Now, at around this time, one of Ellen's apparent husbands died after going to the circus. It was all very strange.
Very strange.
Now, Ellen developed a license for stealing clothes. In 1865, she was charged with robbing clothes from Colonel Andrew Tyne. Now, the Colonel would become a prominent Ipswich lawyer, soldier, educator, philanthropist and government minister. She was apprehended at her house with all of her missing property in her possession, but still, the jury found her not guilty. Maybe they were scared they were going to die. Anyway, in 1866, police took the extraordinary step of advertising in the newspaper for someone to come forward to prosecute Ellen.
Right.
That's because they had found Ellen in the possession of 2 fowls. They said that there was no doubt the chooks were stolen, and could someone please come forward and prosecute Ellen?
Right.
Anyway, in 1867, that was another extraordinary year for her.
Right.
She was working with a former convict named Jane Thorpe in an Ipswich house of ill repute.
Oh,
Now, firstly, Jane sued Ellen for stealing some money from her. Then Jane testified against Ellen in another clothes stealing case, but changed the testimony and Ellen got off. Jane was then found murdered in their workplace, a crime for which no one was ever brought to justice.
really?
Yeah, and so Ellen's career continued from one misadventure to the next. That was until she left Ipswich and was convicted in Dalby, and the prison term effectively ended her career. But, Danny, how did she get a name, Ellen the Cutter?
I don't know. How?
Yeah, look, well, back then, the cutter was someone who cut cloth and sold the pieces, and Ellen did have a liking for stealing clothes, so maybe that's where she got her name.
Ellen.
But still, you've got to wonder, with so many people dying around Ellen the Cutter in unusual circumstances, what really was the truth?
Well, I'd like to know. Can you keep on this case? It's a cold case from about 100 years ago. And we've
150 years ago.
We got to catch the bloods. They could be still living in our community.
That's right. It's not safe for us. Especially with that house of ill repute, which I think was actually where you're working right now.
Yes, that's used to be. What I got to worry about is, that I forgot what I was going to say. You threw me.
That's right.
Oh, it'd be something about Sophia for sure.
Sophia, yeah, I love Sophia, but no, it's about Ellen the Cutter. If we see a 150-year-old lady who's a bit craggy walking the streets, we know we've got her. But she died.
Yeah, grab her. Chase after her, Danny. You might catch her. Chase her.
Didn't she die?
Yes, look, there are records of her passing away, but who knows? She may have faked her own death. We don't know. She was a mystery, and she was a career mystery in Ipswich. Like, you can't do it anywhere else better than that.
Could Mr. Harold H. P. Cockadoodle-doo please report to seat 471387C? And don't put your thing back and don't spread your legs because you're a tall bludger, okay?
No, that's all right. I'll do my best. But I'm on assignment. I'm coming back to you. And I'll post this story on historyouthere.com.
Historyouthere.com. And you're on with Damien Lee on 4WK. Is it called that now?
4AK.
4AK now. When?
On Tuesday mornings between 7:30 and 8.
He's only stole about 5 of my talent, but anyhow.
Yeah, look, but Danny, I may be on with Damo, but you're my first love. You know that.
You're a funny man. It's 8:20. We're live. We're local.